Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel.
And Ban
And it's Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom. All right. We haven't recorded in a while,
We're
but
so good at that
do it.
now.
Like,
man.
let's call
It's-
attention to it every time.
Yeah.
I don't know why I do that. I'm always like, oh, we did it.
You know what this reminds me of? It's like the 90s voice message machines when you move in together as a couple and you go like, this is it. And yeah.
I never
It's
got a
funny
chance to
thing.
do that, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
I know, right? It's a funny, annoying thing that we're resurrecting for you youngins listening
You're
to
welcome,
podcasts.
everybody. Okay, so you probably read the title of this, but if you didn't, we are Spoiled Rotten. We basically
Spoil
dissect everything that has to do with popular movies and TV shows.
Yeah. Geekdom, if you will.
Yes, exactly. And then, but this time we are going to dissect all 22 to date MCU films.
That's right. After now the Infinity Saga has ended with Endgame, and you should definitely check out our last episode.
Yeah.
Although I will admit I'm a little incoherent with that. But of course, we're going to rehash some of those ideas out today. But most importantly, we are going to rank the entire Infinity Saga. From best to worst, in our opinion. My list
No,
versus
worst to
Daniel's list, or worst to best?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, worst to best.
You got to give people something to look forward to.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay, so obviously the news is Robert Pattinson.
Hey,
Pattinson.
just before we get into it,
Yeah.
yes, he's the name they're pushing.
But it's
because
not
there was a
official.
rumor.
Yeah.
But Nicholas Hoult is
Is also
also
there, yes.
at the top, and right now he's Beast, and that is
Yeah.
going away. So it
Yes.
also makes sense that he might be like, "Ooh, I need that money."
And I like that, and he's also starring the J.R.R. Tolkien biopic.
Yeah, but I don't think that's
I don't
good.
think-
I don't think that's
I don't think
something
I'm
he's going to want on his
really
resume.
interesting. Anyways, so it's officially between those two, Robert Pattinson and
Yeah,
Nicholas
like
Hoult.
officially, unofficially. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently Matt Reeves wants
Yes.
Pattinson the
Yeah.
most.
My assumption is Warner Brothers is pushing Nicholas Hoult, and he's like, no,
Why? Oh, okay.
because I've always known that he wanted Robert Pattinson.
I see.
That's just kind of that was always the thing.
Now, I know that you want Holt more than Pattinson, and I think a lot of people would rather that.
I don't
too.
want Holt more than Pattinson. To me, it doesn't really matter. Like I always say this. Like you just need to nail the Bruce Wayne stuff, which either will be a broody rich white guy, which both of them can do.
Yes.
And then the stuntman takes care of the rest of the stuff. Honestly, when it comes to Batman, I care more about the writing than I care about who's playing Batman. Like that part. I think I said like they would have to be like, oh, Jack Black is Batman before I'm like, oh, I don't like that.
That would,
And
be
it's
hilarious.
not because of his size. It's more like I feel like, oh, then they're obviously
He can't
making
play
it
that
a joke.
character.
Like
Yeah,
he's made like
he can't play that character.
I mean, he could do a version of it. It just would probably be a version I don't really like.
It'd be like it would be probably like if he voiced Spider Ham or something like that. Just because it's a more joke take, it's clearly a joke on the character.
Yeah,
So some version of Batman that's like that in a multiverse or whatever, where it's
So,
less
like,
serious and goofy.
yeah. I guess my point is it doesn't matter to me. Out of the two of them, I think it would be as a Nicholas Hoult fan, I'd be like, oh, that would be cool for him.
Yeah.
But also, like, if the director wants what's his face, then
I'm
then
so
I would
sure
rather
he's
that.
got a vision.
Yeah, I would
for
rather.
that.
I'd rather the director get the actor they want. And
That's
then,
true. Yeah.
Because as I've said, I don't really like Matt Reeves as a director. I think he's
Yeah.
kind of boring. So the next bit of news is what makes me excited.
Right.
Is that they're gonna go all in with the villains.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's all villains we've already seen, because then you don't really have to get into
Yeah. Like.
But right now,
reestablishing-
right now they're saying Catwoman, Penguin, and Riddler, and it's like, yeah, we've seen those ones already.
Yeah.
So it's easier to just lump them in and go.
Yes.
And I think that's a good idea to start with, because then you can burn all of those out, and then then you can start getting into like new ones and like actual new threats to Batman that we haven't seen already.
Because they've got to build this world. So going with familiar with villains is really, really good choice. And plus, they've got to build up this Batman more than they've got to build up villains. From what I perceive. So I'm glad they're not. I mean, right now there's no discussion of Joker, which is, I think, fantastic. For the first one, for the first installment, anyways. But there's a rumor up to 6 other characters too. Now, this is not a ridiculous thing because they're not all going to be primary villains. They're going to be maybe mentions or something like that, or like.
I mean, my assumption would be that they would be more than just a mention.
Well, it could be mentions, or like you know how in Batman Begins there was Zaz there in the court scene that just flew completely over my head until you mentioned it like years later. I'm like, oh right, and you're like, Batman Begins had like 3 villains in it. And I was like, wait, what? And then you mentioned that. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So it could work. It really could.
Yeah, I've never really subscribed to you can only have one villain, and I think
no, I don't think anyone's ever subscribed to that.
Everyone always. That's a big complaint. What do you mean?
But
everyone's always like, like it ruined it when they put in more than one villain in Batman Returns and stuff like that. That's people say that all the time. What I'm saying is, I think
that the complaint is you can't have more than one main villain. In the sense where it's kind of like there's a main mastermind villain.
Well, I mean, by definition of main, you can't have more than one main villain. But that's just the logistics of the English language, not necessarily storytelling. But what I mean is like, I think it would be a good idea for him to kind of have that feel of like there's a bunch of different threats because my fear is with what I consider boring filmmaking that if it was just the one villain, I'd be like,
it's too linear. It's not a challenge because my fear of and the way they're doing the villain thing is so great because to me it screams that they're not doing a origin story. It screams.
I mean, they might be.
It.
I don't know that this says that's not an origin story.
It does. Seem
the first
to be
Batman comic has a bunch of villains in it.
It does.
Catwoman, Joker, and stuff.
Yes.
Like I don't know that makes it. I'm not saying it won't. Like I'm not saying it is certainly an origin story, but multiple villains doesn't make
true.
As we just said, Batman Begins has multiple villains. That's an origin story.
Yeah, I just don't want another origin story. Or if it is an origin, I think it's a scene that gets a flashback or something like that.
Yeah.
Very much like the Batman versus Superman opening scene where you see the actual death, you know what happens, and then you know the story, but it's just over quickly kind of deal.
Yeah.
Because it is important to the character, but I don't think the origin of the character can change very much in the sense where you can't remove it from the opera, you can't remove it from the parents dying, you can't.
Well, the opera was just for Batman Begins. It's always a movie.
Well, a movie or an opera or whatever, some sort of show.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to point out is there is flexibility in what you do in terms of his origin.
Yeah, but I don't think it makes that big of a difference if it's a movie.
It does make a difference because
really?
When it's a movie, it's Zorro, and that's what makes him think of the cape and everything and the mask.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So that's a part of it, whereas when Nolan does it, it's just his fear of bats that's getting him out of there, and he's not actually... He's actually inspired by the League of Shadows in terms of his look.
Correct.
So that's all I'm saying is there is a difference, and that can play into what you want to establish your Batman as.
Fair point. But this take on this take on Batman, you're not even the biggest fan of either. Like a noir-driven.
No, I just don't like the director.
Detective.
So
thing. So there's not a lot going for this movie for you. For me,
other than the villains.
Yeah, other than the villains. For me, I really do like Matt Reeves. Who would you rather have in the director's
Joe Russo said he wanted to do a Batman movie. I was like, yeah, fucking
holy
cancel all of this. And I don't even care if Chris Evans is Batman. Let's do that.
Sweet.
I mean,
not
that
Chris
also...
Evans is Batman. Not Chris Evans is Batman.
No, I'm down. Chris Evans is Batman. Joe Russo directing. Hopefully Marcus and McFeely writing it. I'd be down.
So let's bring all Marvel people into DC Universe to really straighten up DC, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's already happening, man. Joss Whedon, James Gunn.
They're all seeping in.
That's true.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, so that's that. Let's get into this list.
All right, entree time. We are going from the worst to the best in the Infinity Saga. So that is not Phase 3.
That's all the 22 movies.
That's all 22 movies to this point, which is, of course, everything that we've talked about. I mean,
There's no need to explain this anymore. You say your number 22, then I'll say my number 22.
The worst movie of the MCU saga. The Infinity Saga is Thor: The Dark World.
Interesting. Why would you say that?
I'm basing these rankings on how engaged I was through my entire watch through, and through Thor, I was just like, "Oh my god!" The entire time, I'm like, "No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on this instead." And I didn't care for it at all. Like there was the only scene I did care about in that whole movie was the Loki pretending to be Captain America scene, because I thought that was great acting.
Great. Loki's great in
scene.
that movie, though.
Yeah, he's great in that movie, but
he's
I
doing a lot of
think
good
he's
stuff.
the only good thing about that movie.
The mom fight was good.
The mom fight was good, but the Natalie Portman clearly not wanting to be there killed me.
I haven't rewatched it in a while, but when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, she's better in this than the first one."
Really?
Yeah.
I thought she was better in the first one than this.
It seemed like she wanted to be there, but I now know that she was legally forced to be there.
Yes.
But it didn't come across to me the first time I watched it, and I've only seen it like 3 times, so I don't know. I would have to rewatch it. But yeah, okay. Thor: The Dark World is your 22.
Yep.
My number 22 is Incredible Hulk.
Oh.
Because I don't like the Hulk anyway, and also it is the least connected of them all.
100% agree.
I don't even think this version of Bruce Banner has even ever seen William Hurt's Thaddeus Ross.
Oh yeah, Thunderbolt. Yeah,
like that's his team, but yeah, he hasn't seen him in these movies, and like that is a tying factor. They don't even bring up Betty.
Yep.
Anymore. Like it just seems like the most inconsequential of them, and anything that ties into it, isn't actually in the movie. It's like a deleted scene. Like the fact that like when he got mad, that's what shifted Captain America loose, but that's a cut scene. When he references, "I tried to shoot myself to kill myself," that's a cut scene.
Yep.
So like, just by the fact that they clearly want to cut ties with it.
Yep.
I mean, probably more so because of the Edward Norton connection, but like...
So what is... you know more about the Edward Norton thing. I mean, like, did he just not want to be there and was forced to be there? Like
No, he wanted to do it. It's just he wanted to do it his way, and they're like, fuck
see.
you. And then when they announced the cast, he was like, what the fuck? And then they're like, yeah, you didn't... You tried to rewrite I guess the idea is he was like, I'll do this movie, but I want to rewrite it. And then they filmed all his scenes, but I think they cut a lot of... Like, Michael K. Williams... he's in that movie for like a second, but like Edward Norton wrote like a full on like storyline for that guy.
Oh wow!
And he's just not in it.
That's fun.
So
it's kind of like a Jared Leto thing.
I think they were all pissed at each other. But yeah, that I think also helps me make the decision of like, well, if they're not that interested in like tying in beats from that actual movie instead of just what happened around that movie, then.
No, it's true.
Easy for me to be like, yeah, I know.
It is without a doubt the most easily connected, least connected of the MCU. The only thing that really is there is just those like snippets in the beginning where it's like shield classifications and all those like little Easter eggs that come in. That's like, oh, okay, I see. You're definitely connecting it, but it's not actually connected.
Yeah, or they don't do anything with the like Abomination stuff because like everyone assumed at the end that Tony Stark is trying to recruit Hulk, but he's actually trying to recruit Abomination. Yeah. But like that doesn't go anywhere, so like it's really easy for me to just be like, yeah, this is 22.
Yep.
As like I don't really like the movie anyway because as I said, I don't really care about Hulk. Yeah. But it's not a horrible movie. It's just like it's not that connected, and for what I see for the universe, it seems the least consequential.
I agree. It's that's why for me it was very difficult to have a bottom of the list ranking system. Incredible Hulk is 21 for me. It's not the worst, but it's tied down there. It's really at the bottom of the barrel for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about your 21?
Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like.
I assume for the very similar reasons.
Yeah,
my reasons are very much like yours.
I just don't like.
Yeah.
I find that the villains are forgettable. It's not the best use of Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Is Kat Dennings and get yeah, and she has like a boyfriend. Like she overstayed her welcome.
Kat Dennings has her intern boyfriend thing,
and I'm not a
funny,
Selvig fan. So like the fact that he had to come back, I'm like, nah. I know that a lot of his theories show up in Endgame, like the stuff that was on the chalkboard, but I'm just like, I don't care. I don't. Also, I realize now that I thought Marcus and McFeely only did the Captain America movies and Infinity War and Endgame, but they also wrote Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, really?
So that's probably why it connects so much into Endgame.
Correct.
But yeah, I just don't like it, and I mean, it's I don't love it, and also like there's probably moments like the Captain America one, and in general everything to do with Loki that I like, but
overall,
it's
it's very unforgettable. 20. What's your 20?
No, you gotta go first. Man.
Oh, okay.
That's how this goes.
Ant-Man.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Why? You gotta expound on this stuff.
I just I don't know. Like Ant-Man to me was just it wasn't a character that connected with me first and foremost.
Yeah.
I have my weird bias against Paul Rudd, and it just it was. It's fun to watch some of the scenes be so overly dramatized with the Thomas the Tank Engine thing and the toy car thing.
Yeah,
that was fun.
That's really good.
But overall, the movie was just like, it didn't really do much with Mark Strong, and I really wanted.
I should hope not.
Yeah, they didn't.
Corey Stoll.
Yeah, Corey Stoll. Sorry, they didn't do much with him, and I'm like, I wanted that to be more, and it was just a weird dynamic to me that Hank Pym was his mentor, and like it's a weird relation. It's just the only thing I liked about that movie was like you de-aged Michael Douglas real well. Like that first scene.
I can't believe you like this less than Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is like when
considering
I
would imagine Ant-Man and the Wasp only works if you're flying on the high of Ant-Man.
Yeah, it's
fair enough.
It's really funny that I do like it less, but there's parts of Ant-Man and the Wasp that I do like more than Ant-Man.
Fair enough.
Granted, and it's Louise's character more than anything else. And it's just the way they like held him back in Ant-Man and the Wasp from being that person, and then when they gave him the truth serum or whatever,
he went for it.
He just like unleashed everything, and that was a really, really good moment to me. And I really liked the fact that they just contained it all within one thing. Otherwise, it would have.
I don't want you to use up all your Ant-Man and the Wasp stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so Ant-Man didn't connect with the character. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay. 20 for me is Iron Man 2.
Mm.
It is fun, but overall, I kind of feel like it's hard to rewatch at this point. It was, like I didn't hate it at first.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, yeah, that was fun, and I'm a big War Machine fan, so War Machine's in it, great.
Yeah.
I do still think that Terrence Howard was a better roadie than Don Cheadle. Like it actually seemed like they had a relationship or like some kind of a bond, but.
Because you're right, they do try to separate the characters eventually.
Yeah. I really like Don Cheadle, so the fact that he's in these movies, great. Yep. I'm really happy he's in it, and that he actually wears the suit. I love everything to do with the Justin Hammer stuff. I think it does come down to like the I vote that or whatever his name is. I don't even know, the Russian guy. Yeah. They don't give him they don't give him a
guy.
Yeah, they don't give him a
just call him Whiplash.
Bad. Yeah, but he doesn't have a bad guy name, which is stupid to me. But it's certainly not.
It
Whiplash.
never gets said, but it's Whiplash.
But he's also Red Dynamo and stuff. It's just weird. I don't like it.
Weird.
I also it's weird because that movie goes out of its way to be like Tony Stark isn't an Avenger or like Iron Man isn't an Avenger, and then they just kind of like
and then immediately
they just kind of hand wave it when it comes. So that really brings it down. I'm not that upset with how much they're leaning into the Avenger stuff in this movie, but it does kind of like
it does lead into it a lot. But I'm with you. I don't think that's a big criticism against the movie.
It's a criticism against it being a standalone movie, but
I see
it's not like I hate it. It's more like that's what this was like the first movie they were doing that was actually like okay, we're really leaning into this shared universe thing.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But yeah, overall, at this point, I feel like any movie that, I just didn't really like it. So
fair.
I might switch it with the one that comes next later in life. That's the other thing I should point out.
Right.
All of these things are subject to change.
Yeah, of course.
But for today, when I wrote this list down, this is how I feel.
Yeah. My next one, I guess, is Iron Man 3.
We're on 19, right?
Yeah, we're on 19. Did not care for Iron Man 3. Didn't care for the kid. Just
No one did.
no one cares for the kid.
No, it's not true. In the movie, people care. It's just when he shows up later, you're like,
Who that? Yeah, didn't care for the kid. Didn't like the idea that Pepper Potts got to control the Iron Man suit without any training whatsoever, and without being a Rhodey having combat experience made sense to me. But
But she was like superhuman at that point. She had extremis.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
Completely
Yeah, I think.
forgot about that.
I think anytime people are like, how come she? It's like, well, like, it's not that hard to instinctually want to do something, and especially if you're like already operating on like, it's harder for like someone like Tony Stark. I could see that needing some build up because your body would probably need to get used to it.
Sure.
But if you're operating at like extremis level, then I think it's fine.
I completely forget about that. Iron Man 3, I have actually no issues with the Mandarin switch thing.
No, that's the only good part.
I love that Mandarin switch.
If they didn't have that switch, I probably wouldn't like the movie as much as I
The
do.
thing I don't like is that Kevin Feige has kind of, in some recent interviews, backpedaled on you're going to see the real Mandarin and the 10 rings and like
Yeah, but they
movie.
already said that in that one shot.
Yeah, they did say it in the one shot,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, why are you backpedaling on that? That was probably the greatest thing about that movie, and now you're backpedaling on it. I don't like it because to me, obviously, sure, people are like diehard comic book fans. I'm like, that's a racist character. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I was really happy what they did with that.
I'm like,
Everything to do with the Mandarin in that movie was great.
Yeah.
I was really happy they did that.
I love that. It was really, really good. Just the movie itself was just like, it was clunky. It was like bulky. It was bloated. It just didn't work well for me.
Got it.
Also didn't care for vanilla Coke can color scheme of
Oh,
Iron Man 3.
his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so small that I'm not. I just like to say
It's like,
vanilla
what's
Coke.
going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, my 19 is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh yeah.
For everything we talked about on the episode that I talked about it on, like, it didn't further any character.
No.
It seemed like it even wasted some characters, such as Walton Goggins' character. I don't remember his name.
Oh god, that was a huge
seems
waste.
like a huge waste,
Yeah.
and like it's like trying to keep Ant-Man as a main character, even though he's clearly being sidelined.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be as much of him as it is, and it just seemed like a missed opportunity on like exploring the Wasp. Like, it seemed like all the exploration of the Wasp was in the first movie, and then
Yes.
by the time she's actually in the title, you're just like,
Yeah.
I guess she's just there.
Not new.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. It's not without its fun. As I said, I really like the Randall Park and Paul Rudd stuff. I find that very fun. I really like Cassie's stuff. I was actually kind of sad that she got recast for Endgame, because I was like,
Yeah.
I think he's got really good chemistry with her, but
I think so.
it doesn't matter, because Endgame doesn't really deal with that father-daughter relationship in depth, so it's fine. But those things are strong about it. I just think that it more than the first one felt superfluous.
Yep.
It was kind of like, okay, I guess that was nice that we spent time on that. And then it does feel like less so than Iron Man 2, but like it's like, well, this was just a big commercial for the like quantum realm time travel.
100%. That was, to me, the biggest issue with Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I'm going to talk about. I'm going to add on to this discussion because that's my 18. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp, I liked it a lot more than Ant-Man because I thought the jokes landed so much better. As a comedic movie, it was so much more fun. The idea is like him with Lawrence Fishburne comparing like, oh, I got to 18 feet one time. It's like, I got to 60. Like, that was really fun. The idea that Paul Rudd pretended to be Michelle Pfeiffer during that one scene where it's like, oh, Peanut. And that was really fun to me. There was a lot in that movie that I liked more than Ant-Man alone. Like I said before, the Louise thing with the truth serum, and even the villain going, oh my god, this is truth serum.
Old Usman.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was so much fun to me. Ant-Man and the Wasp worked a lot better to me than Ant-Man 1. Which is super
Everyone's
weird
got
for me to
different-
say, but purely from a comedy standpoint, the Randall Park stuff, I always love seeing him, and it's every time there was like, hey, how'd how'd you do that?
Love it.
That was so good.
Or are you asking me on a date? Like,
Yeah.
You want to go on a date?
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. Good stuff. Just, I think it was a wasted opportunity.
It totally
and was not. It just wasn't good.
I also love how Paul Rudd and like Evangeline Lilly, they're both very, very self-aware. It's like, no, there doesn't need to be an Ant-Man 3. I'm glad.
Well, there is going to be one, but yeah.
Oh,
Sure. I guess
Really?
there doesn't need to be one with them.
not-
So, my 18 is Thor.
Oh, yeah.
Because I really do not care about the way they like to write him as self-serious.
Yep.
So it was meh. My big problem with that movie, I kind of talked about it when we were talking about Captain Marvel, but I'll talk about Captain Marvel later, was they start the movie with this big bang. You're like, holy shit, Thor is amazing. And then
Yeah.
they're like, and now we're going to strip that away. And
Yep.
you're like, but I know that's not, like, it's not a TV show where we're going to be, like, working towards this maybe for seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I know by the end of this, he's going to get it back. This just seems like spinning wheels.
Yeah. So
I will
pile
say
onto
it
this.
works. It
Yeah.
works. The cat denning stuff works in this. I thought it helped with the humor. People never, I guess, bought the Natalie Portman and Thor relationship with Jane and Thor, but I did. I felt like the second time I saw it, I was like, I feel like I can see her just being like, wow, this guy's a hunk. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I don't like. It doesn't mean that they're going to be in love forever, and they're not in love forever for contractual, but also it made sense story wise that she might have just been infatuated with him, and then that kind of fizzles out.
Yeah, but
I
yeah.
bought those initial reactions of her being like, holy shit, like I'm
Yeah.
into this, I
Yeah.
like this, and then him just being like, well, this is
Yeah.
my first
Because-
human encounter, I like it.
Yeah, to me, it was. I'm going to pile on to this discussion because Thor's my 17. So,
Well, then, let's hold on, because
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get out all my thoughts, and then we
yeah,
can-
okay, sure.
because then, I want you to be able to actually talk about Thor when you get to it.
Sure.
But yeah, I think there's just an element of withholding the good parts throughout this movie. I also didn't really understand a lot of what was like. I didn't understand how Loki came back. I didn't like because he dies at the end, but then like he's at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Is he talking? Is that wait? Now I don't remember which one.
God
Is
of
it?
Mischief, man? You can't
Is
trust
that
me
the
if we're
one where
dead.
he's talking to Samuel Jackson as Selvig, but then like in the reflection you can see that it's Loki, and they've got the Tesseract?
No,
'Cause the
that's
the
Ultron. No, that's Avengers. I think
No, that's not Avengers.
it's not Avengers.
No, I think it might be Thor. Because I was just like, so what? What happened here? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It just it feels underwhelming to me.
It's a very underwhelming movie.
I'm not a fan of it. I understand what people like about it, but I was kind of like, it all seemed like a foregone conclusion, and they did. I don't think they hid the, how the sausage was made well enough for it
Yes.
to work for me.
I agree. The budget of the movie really, really showed through with this. This is a weird thing for me to nitpick on. I really don't like Thor's look in the first one, in the sense
'cause
where
they dyed his
eyebrows. Yeah,
that's not a budget thing. That was
it's
just
not a budget
that was a
thing.
dumb decision.
That was a dumb decision. I'm just like, oh, that's weird. It was distracting the entire time. You're exactly right. I don't like the way that it's like, oh, you're overpowered, you're all this. But I mean, like, I do like the idea. Is like, okay, you got to get your humility back, and you got to be stripped, and all this kind of stuff. But to me, there's just like, I know where. To your point, I know where we're going to end up at the end of this movie. We're going to get him back, and it's a weird thing, right? It really is. Plus, it's I think it's a misuse of Anthony Hopkins as Odin, and it's just whatever.
I don't know about that, but yeah, sure. I mean, if that's how you feel,
I
feel
actually
like he's
was
used,
very interested.
I feel like he's used just fine.
I really liked his casting, and I was like, oh, they're not going to do much with it. Okay, I guess that sucks.
Well, yeah, it's called Thor, not Thor and Family.
No, but of course, with his bunch of other people too, it's just like, well, we are talking about his family.
But what I'm saying is, like, everyone's going to have limited time to do things,
Yes.
considering it's a Thor movie.
Yes, but
And
yeah,
because he has to spend all that time on Earth.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, I don't love that too much. The Natalie Portman stuff and with Thor worked better for me in the first movie than the second movie, because in the first movie my take on it was that, oh my god, she's studying this and he's actually speaking my language and showing me what it is, and they're talking about the same thing. It wasn't like a mansplaining. There's like, no, like, yeah, this is great. You're doing really, really good work and all this kind of stuff. And even in the second movie, she's like, she doesn't know yet. With Heimdall saying like she doesn't know yet, but she studies the Bifrost and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was really, really cool that they're speaking that same language, and that was the infatuation. The second movie, I just really don't like the idea. I was like, where were you? Where are you gone? It's like, I was saving the world. Like since Odin's death is like, this has been. The 9 realms have getting into chaos. Is like, okay, well, that's a good reason. It's just like, oh, that didn't land well with me, so I just like,
oh, that made sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, that made sense, but it was just like, oh, I didn't.
What did you want them to do?
The wrong way. I don't know. It was just like, you didn't backpedal. You're just like, okay, fine.
What are you supposed to say to that?
I don't know.
That just seemed like a realistic reaction of like, nothing I can say is gonna like top you're saving the world.
Yeah, but I don't know. At that point, maybe it was just the acting, the idea that I know that legally she was forced to be there and do that job.
Yeah, because I don't think if you didn't, I don't think that if people didn't know she was forced to be there, they'd be like, meh.
That's right. So yeah, 17 is my Thor. What's your 17?
Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
I like it. No, you know what? I don't care. It's more like I saw it. Did it? It came out like. Probably a year after Dark Knight Rises, but it was like my first experience of being in a theater. Like when I saw it the first time, like these people who clearly love Iron Man were like, that fucking sucked. Like I did not like it. Whereas I was like, oh, that's fine, whatever. Yeah. But like they were so pissed off, and I was like, I guess this is how stupid I looked talking about Dark Knight Rises. Like all their nitpicks, I was like, you're not wrong, but also like, who the fuck cares? It's just Iron Man. Like I was just like, I don't care about any of this bullshit. Yeah. I was just like, yeah, it's fine. What I didn't like was how they used Rhodey. I thought that was really insulting, like making him the punchline. Yep. I was just like, oh, okay. And he doesn't even get a suit in the final battle.
Yep.
Again, probably good for Don Cheadle to do more work, but come on. Look, this guy's got to get like carried around for the final battle like he's a little kid. Yeah. Not into it.
True. I completely forgot about that part too.
I like Shane Black movies, so that was fine, but I'm never really a fan of the hero is out of their suit the whole time, and
you don't like
and I just find it's weird because Robert Downey Jr. legitimately broke his ankle making this movie, so they made it harder on themselves. Yeah. Like in a situation where you would definitely just want him to be sitting on a stool so you can just film his face while he's doing the Iron Man stuff, you're like, nope, this movie he's out of the suit the whole time, and you're like, well, so now you're gonna pay to paste his face on a stunt double's body, and like,
that seems weird.
Wow, why are we doing that? And so, I mean, that's me playing into what I know about the behind the scenes stuff, but just as a movie, I'm just like, I think I already said it. If they didn't have the Mandarin stuff, I would have been like, meh. It's probably lower on the list. But the Mandarin stuff really worked the way I thought they had an elegant solution to. Yes. How do we do this? And it makes more sense that someone would put that much effort into killing Tony Stark and ruining his life because Tony Stark made him feel so small that he like considered killing himself. Like that really sticks to me. That I'm like, okay, like this guy thought he had like done something, and then like, he legitimately puts all this effort into like destroying Tony Stark. That makes sense to me. Yeah. I even like that he had the like dragon tattoo, and it's like, oh, okay, there's Fing Fang Foom or whatever. Like, you don't need to get into like I'm a mystic Asian. It's like, no, like this guy like already has this thing going, and he's just gonna destroy Tony Stark, and it makes sense that he would be that focused on Tony Stark. Yeah, that kind of personal thing, and it's not like Tony Stark even knows who he is, so that would make him even more angry that he's like, I don't remember you. Like, I don't care about this. So there's that. I like that element of it, and I really do like the twist and the fact that like we lived in a world where like basically no twist is safe. Everyone spoils stuff like that. Like that, I didn't know it until I saw it in the movie. I was like, I've got to like, you know, applaud them for pulling that off.
Yep.
Like that didn't get leaked somehow.
I agree. That was a really good thing. They made a really, really good use of the on-screen Mandarin. I forget his Ben Kingsley. Is that his name?
Oh yeah, like the fake one.
Yeah, the fake Mandarin.
That's the actor's name. I don't
yeah.
remember. Trevor or something.
Yeah, I
Is it Trevor
really
Slattery?
I don't know. I
think
can't
it's-
remember. But I like I'm just going to call him the on-screen Mandarin, the persona of Mandarin. It was really, really good. And that switch at the end, you're like, oh, you got me good. I liked it. Yeah, we're on 16, right?
It is Trevor Slattery.
Yeah.
We are on. Yes, we should be on 16 now.
Okay. Iron Man 2
All right.
for me. Yep.
What did you like about it?
All the reasons you listed. All. I agree with 100% of everything you said. So there's
Just a nice little fun movie.
it's just like
Oh, and the War Machine stuff.
the War Machine stuff. I would have liked different kind of things. Yeah, it was a weird movie. Didn't appreciate it.
And yet it's higher than some movies that you're like, I really like this.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm wildly inconsistent with my shit, so
For me,
anyone that has known me will tell you that.
that's fair. I mean, as we talked about over text, I had a hard time putting this together. So,
Oh yeah, I have a hard time putting this together too.
all right, my 16 is Ant-Man.
Yep.
I think it is a perfect example of what these movies are trying to do, like while also being its own movie in its own way. It works because they brought down the scale. Obviously, there's a pun in that because it's Ant-Man. But like the idea that the whole thing isn't like I'm going to go fight this bad guy, which is why I'm fine with how Yellow Jacket is used.
Yep.
Because the whole idea is we need to stop Yellow Jacket from even happening.
Yep.
So if you have Yellow Jacket too much in the movie, then it's like, well, you're not really prepared to fight Yellow Jacket, so I wouldn't really want to watch you just get your ass handed to you. So, like, I like that the idea is all we're trying to do is steal this. No, we're not bringing in the Avengers. We're not going to, like, do any of that stuff because the whole point of this is all we need to do is get that thing away from the bad guy. The fact that they have to fight him means they've kind of failed, and then you have to see them scramble to figure it out later. But I thought that was like a really tight story, and it worked really well in terms of acknowledging there is a shared universe because he meets Falcon later, and that it was a mistake. Like, everything seems so uniform. Of like, no, we don't want to deal with any of this. We don't want to be like, we want to be under the radar the whole time. And then it's like, oh, go to this like abandoned place, and it's like, well, you idiots, this is like Avengers headquarters, and like it doesn't like Falcon is the person that you want there. Like that makes the most. I get that there's the Deadpool joke of like, oh, that's all they could afford, but like. It makes sense that like Falcon would be there, and that
You wouldn't have Tony there. That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, because Tony's just gonna kill you. Like he's not. There isn't gonna be like cool banter. Like maybe, but like it wouldn't be banter. It would be like he'd say something cool after he fucking vaporizes you.
Exactly.
So
right, or
so
like he's got some sort of tech and to build that up. Or if you have Scarlet Witch, it's like of course that's you're definitely going to die against Scarlet Witch.
So like
or Vision or something like that. So
I just liked
sense.
the cameo that they had from from there, and I liked that it was like on a smaller scale without ever feeling too inconsequential. It was like this is nice. I didn't really understand why you didn't like the mentorship between him and Hank Pym because that also really worked because it wasn't a straight up mentorship. It was like, you're disposable to me, so yeah, you go just do this thing for me because I don't really care about you, and if you died I would be perfectly fine with that because at least it's not my daughter. And I like that she had animosity.
No, not the Scott Lang Hank Pym mentorship. It was that totally made sense to me. That was fine. It was the villain, I don't know what's his face, and like because they were like he was my mentor and he always did this.
But I think that just speaks to him thinking that he was his mentor. I think
you don't think that was actually the case.
No, because the whole movie starts with them basically being like, we've been playing him this whole time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like they were like, we know what he's trying to do, and we need to like get it away from him. We need to stop him.
Okay.
So all of that worked for me. I thought that went. That worked, and it just was showing that, like, you know, he's getting crazier. Hank Pym already went crazy, and you're watching Corey Stoll going crazy. they haven't really played into that with Paul Rudd. It seems like he just isn't going to go crazy.
Yep.
Which is fine. I mean, that's just an abandoned thing that they have. But I thought that everything was really well explained in that. It obviously doesn't hit the heights of some of the movies that come later in my list, but I did think that it was a nice addition and a nice way of switching it up so that not everything has to be the end of the world.
Right. Yeah, that's a nice relief when it's not like, oh, the world's at stake and all this time. It's good points there. Definitely making me reconsider my ranking for Ant-Man, but it's too late.
It's committed now.
Yeah, it's committed. 15.
That's you, man.
Doctor Strange.
All right.
Didn't care that it was basically a remake, that it was Iron Man 1.
Yeah,
Loved the redoing of the Ancient One kind of stuff, but the whole movie itself was just like, don't really care about it. Visually, it was fun, but don't really care about it.
Yep. My 15 is Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
I don't care about Hawkeye as much as people want me to care about him in this movie. So the fact that they're leaning into him is a real bummer for me. I do like War Machine in this, that he's kind of like, he's telling these stories at the party initially, and then
So
and then like even like when he like tells it to the Avengers, they're kind of like, who cares?
Like,
and then like he tells it to a bunch of like vapid people, and they're kind of like, cool. And he's like, do I want this? Grace? Like, do I want this?
I love that reaction.
Yeah, like that is the moment that makes me like, I legitimately like his performance in this movie. That like he gets the laugh, and then he's kind of like, is this worth it?
This is not impressing the right audience.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I like the fact it's like when he's telling that story like Thor and everything like that.
Oh,
he's
is that the end?
He's like, oh, is that the end? Oh, that's a wonderful War Machine story. It was like, it was truly wonderful. It was the best thing ever.
I like that. I really like the party scene in general. I thought that was like really good. But like that War Machine and Iron Man tried to lift the hammer together. And, like I'm like, finally acknowledging that these two are actually like friends, and then they kind of blow it at the end where it's like they're together, like flying around the ship, and then he's like, you just made it weird or whatever. I'm like, just be friends. Why aren't they just working together more? Like, why is it such a weird thing? Because in that movie also, like, they're really doubling down on how close Falcon and Captain America are.
Yes.
Like that, like I didn't even think I was going to see Falcon in that movie, and then like he's like, oh yeah, like I'm still I'm tracking down leads on the Winter Soldier, and like they're like, hey, like where are you living in Brooklyn? He's like, no, I got Price out of Brooklyn. It's like, yeah, like that is a normal I mean, as normal as it can be when you're doing superhero stuff. But like, how are they more established now than Rhodey and Tony Stark?
I agree with you 100% with that, because it's always bothered me, the Rhodey and Tony Stark stuff ever since you brought it up. I was just like, yeah, they are like best buds. Like, why are they being separated more and more and more?
Yeah,
especially because like after the events of like Iron Man 2, it's like, okay, the military stuff is all dealt with, and like, okay, you have your suit now, and you like all that kind of stuff. So there's no professional divide anymore. It seems like you should be buddy working along, but maybe not to the same degree. So like very much like Falcon's like, yeah, I'm not ready to join the ranks of the Avengers yet. I'm doing my own thing. I'm still all that kind of stuff, but still happy to help out if I need to, if I all that kind of stuff. So I get what you're saying there.
And I liked Ultron. I know people don't really care for Ultron, but I like
Ultron was
I like
the best
him as
part
a
of that
villain.
movie. Yeah,
I liked his. I mean, yeah, like I just thought his logic worked for why he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah,
and then I guess it is just kind of like the ending where I'm like, this is too long. I don't need to watch all of this.
Fair enough.
And I don't like the barn. Like I'm just like, what a fucking drag. Yeah. Other than that, it starts stoking the like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers stuff. Like I like that he's like
putting that to
like I like that he's there, and then he's kind of like, you seem to come out okay, and then he's like, fuck off, man, don't talk about that. And then like the way he rips the stump apart, I'm just like, I'm into, like, let's keep this going. I like this. But yeah, I think from this point on, I must just really like the movie more, because it's less of like, I don't like this and more of just like what's better
Yeah.
than what's going on. But
Because-
yeah, I think no, I'm. What Hawkeye? The Hawkeye moment when he like gets injured in the first battle, and they're like, "Come on, you got to fix him." Pretending to care about him is all we've got. Like I liked it. I just kind of liked how he was used in that way. But I was also just like, I don't care about your family, and I don't care about any of your relationship with Wanda. Like, fuck off.
Well, the Wanda relationship thing was okay to me, but the family
I'm not saying it's
to me
bad.
is just,
I'm not saying it's a drag. I'm saying I personally do not care.
that's fair.
Yeah.
The family stuff to me is like, I don't care. Like you're not on the same level with these guys, but I'm glad that you can call point and like scout and do all that kind of stuff. Ultron is my 14. So it's just because there were so many shots there that was so good. Like that scene in the bell tower thing was one of the best shots that I remember from this entire universe. I'm like, that fight was just so cool.
That's cool. I thought you were going to talk about that first, like when they're attacking the base.
That
the
was
first time
great too.
They come across the screen. It's all of them. I like that.
I like
shot.
the idea that it's like, okay, like the idea that they're still not cohesively a team yet. But the idea is like, no, Thor's still there because he's still got to get the Tesseract, and he's still got to clear out all that kind of stuff before he goes home to deal with his stuff and all that.
I think that's the time they're the most of a team.
They are most of the team there, but it's just like, I got to go back.
I think
soon.
they don't ever get as cohesive as that first.
That
scene.
is true, actually. Sorry, I forgot what I was saying. But the things that. See, this is difficult because at this point, after the Doctor Strange point, I'm looking at this, and it gets harder and harder for me to rank because these are the movies I genuinely love and care about. So it gets harder for me to rank because I do love Ultron, the movie, because it fixes so many things to me that was not so great in the first Avengers movie. It builds on their team. I like the fact that at that point, Tony Stark is the one that like funds and upgrades a lot of their tech. They're really becoming all that kind of stuff, with the exception of Thor, because you can't really upgrade Thor from what he is. And a lot of it is really, really fun to me in that movie. The only thing that it's hard because I can't gauge what the issues of that movie are to me. Really,
I think it's I think a big issue with that movie is like the Thor side quest. Like either either put it all in or cut it. Like,
I keep forgetting about that.
It's really awkward.
Yeah.
And the idea that he's just like, I'm gone because I got to figure out what my dream was about, and everyone's like, what? And he's just like, I'm gone. I'm out. I don't give a fuck about any of this. So that stuff, which happens at the barn, when I'm just like, I don't like. This is weird.
Yeah.
And I guess part of what I don't like about the movie is like knowing that Joss Whedon didn't have the best time making it. So like that factors in. But I think just the Thor stuff is a big example of what went wrong, because I think Loki was even supposed to be in that movie.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the Thor side quest thing that he did with the dream. Which, I agree with you. They needed to either lean into it or cut it out entirely. But I think they should have leaned into it, because I thought, like, when they did the full, like, this is the full cut scene and everything like that, I'm like, why didn't they just leave this in? This made sense.
I mean,
maybe it was a runtime thing, or I don't know, but they were like, okay, I guess we'll shorten this down. And I'm just like, that made less sense than ever before now.
So that
final fight with Ultron,
I like the Hulk stuff. Like
Hulk
not
stuff
necessarily like, I don't have a problem with the fact that they started a relationship. I know people think that's weird, but
I don't.
That's fine. No. But what I liked about it was that she knew how to calm him down, and she had her thing, and that movie was really like showing how guilty he feels about being the Hulk, and how like when like Thor was just like, like the hell is filled with the screams of your foes, and he's like, that's not what I want to hear, and he's like, I mean, just wounded, not dead.
And Vision, I love Vision in that movie. I traditionally don't like.
I like when he picks up the hammer. That's cool, but other than that, I don't really care.
I really loved it. I mean, just the idea. I really love about that movie is the James Spader.
He's great as
everything he does in that movie is fantastic. But that final like thing where he's like, "Oh, you can't possibly be that naive," and he's like, "Well, I was born yesterday.
That was some good line delivery.
It was a great line delivery. I really, really like that.
Let's move on.
Yep.
Are we on 13?
We're on 13.
No, wait. I didn't say my 14.
Oh, you didn't do your 14 yet.
It's Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Much like Ant-Man,
Doctor
it
Strange,
works really well as a standalone,
Yes.
but also explains why we're not visiting with other heroes. And I guess maybe it was more like lowered expectations of me being like, there's no way I will care about Doctor Strange. And then I was just like, no, I'm into it, man. Like he's got a good supporting cast. Wong is amazing.
Yeah,
I
Wong's
really liked Chiwetel as
Baron.
his guy.
Mordo.
Yeah,
Mordo.
that's the one. I couldn't tell if Dormammu or Mordo was him, but yeah, what's his face was fine, I guess. Is
Dormammu?
No. What's the Casalius or whatever? Fucked
Oh,
up eye
Mads
guy.
Mikkelsen guy?
Yeah, Mads
Yeah.
Mikkelsen. He's fine, I guess. But yeah, I think that they did a good job of world building in that. I understand that people can strip it down to like it's just Iron Man. He gets injured and he gets humbled, but like watching it, that's not what I'm cognitive of. I'm more thinking of like, oh, really? I hope he knows how to like do a spell. Like I'm more invested than just like, oh, this is just like Iron Man. Like I thought they did a really good job of, I guess, hiding how the sausage is made. I think they did a better job of it there, and it does feel a bit grander. So maybe that's more why I like it a bit more than Ant-Man. Of just like the stakes are higher, but also you are learning a lot of stuff that will carry on into other movies, and it does tie into Ant-Man because he goes into the quantum realm as well. So I thought that it was a nice way of teasing out some of the more cosmic things they wanted to do later.
Right. Cool. 13. Captain Marvel.
We've got the same one finally.
do we?
It took long enough, but here we are.
Sweet. Captain Marvel. I mean, I love the movie from what it stood for. The feminism stuff, revisiting the 90s was fun. Seeing young Samuel L. Jackson developing all these different things. But there was a couple things I didn't like about it. The idea that, yes, the Flurgan cat scratch thing is a little bit funny, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how to feel about that entirely because it's just like, oh yeah, when he delivers the lines like last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye or something like that. I'm like, okay, but are you just trying to make yourself more badass? Because it's fun to see him not badass in that movie, but then be a badass later on as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that kind of stuff. And to see where a lot of the origins of the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff came from and how someone was a non-believer and now is a big believer of these kind of things. I think that was really, really fun. There's a lot of fun moments in that, and I think what it symbolized for feminism was really, really important.
I have to ask about that. I didn't want to bring it up when we. Yeah. What about it do you feel like is like a big like feminist push? Other than
the idea that women are always told, from my point of view, and this is take this for what it is, but all the women I've seen in my life, they've always been criticized to the degree where you're too this, you're too this, you're too this, and have that represented on the big screen and be like, no, there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. You're just uncomfortable with what I'm doing, and being like, no, I'm gonna tear this chip out, tear the restraint out, and actually be myself. The idea that Marvel was no, I'm not Marvel. The Jude Law character was just like, prove it to me, and then boom, I have nothing to prove to you.
Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Like, just be your own person, do your own thing, do good in the world, and don't tell other people how to live is, I think, the message I love about behind that movie. Because
I think I don't need to look at it through that lens. I don't think it really landed I don't think the movie was actually that interested in landing like a big strong thing for feminism. I think Brie Larson wanted to, and that came through in what she was doing during her thing, which I appreciated. But I think the movie actually, it's part of what holds it back is that it's not the right fit from like writer and Marvel, because I do think that a lot of it is like what you just explained, yes, can be applied to women, but that, and the way the movie kind of does it is kind of just like, this is just in general. Don't let people put restraints on you. I don't think I didn't feel that like as deep rooted in the DNA of the film so much as something that you could very easily be like, yeah, I guess, yeah, sure, that applies to women too.
Yeah.
I think like movies like Wonder Woman, Black Panther feel a little bit more deep rooted in what, like, in every interaction in the movie of bringing out the types of things they want to be bringing out than this one. This one feels like a little bit more like, well, yeah,
it downplays it a little bit. I agree, which is why it's mid tier.
So yeah, that's my only thing is that it's not, and it's not even a knock. I just find that I also don't like when movies get credit for doing things they're not actually doing.
Fair enough.
I think.
Because Black Panther, which is way higher on my list now, does all those things with a purpose and all that.
It does
kind
it
of
for
stuff.
like women and black people. Like I think
it does for
but it's like
anyone that's
such a
oppressed,
it's
which is
such
great.
a like it's so seeped in all that stuff.
Yes.
Whereas I don't think Captain Marvel is. I think
I
Captain
agree.
Marvel is a fun movie, which I said when we reviewed it. And what I liked, especially in comparison to Thor, was that there was that element of like we don't even know what she's capable of. So the fact that they're withholding feels good. Like you feel like you're actually building up to something, and there's going to be this eruption, and it is very cathartic when she blows up that first ship.
Oh, totally.
Like I was like at first I was like, and then I'm like, no, like I legitimately like that she was like, and I can read into it and be like, yeah, you know what, like women are always told like they need to prove themselves more, but like it just didn't feel as solid as it. But I like that moment a lot. I think, and I feel like I saw people like criticizing that moment. I'm like, no, like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like she didn't kill him. She just was like, fuck you. I don't have to prove anything to you. You're like, I am who I am. And I like that. But as we talked about, I thought that the first part of it was a little awkward because that seemed like the stuff that was forced on the filmmakers. Whereas when we get down, which again, I hear people don't like when they actually get to Louisiana and she meets up with her friend again.
Maria
like that's
Rambeau?
the stuff that works for me. Where I'm
the
just
Maria Rambeau stuff is so good.
I'm like, I like this, and as I said, I haven't really given it much thought since, but like I haven't seen like them try and piece together an origin story like that the way when the Skrulls have her and they're like going like no rewind, and like this is really interesting to me. I wish there was more of stuff like that. It just feels like there was people were fighting with like a hand tied behind their back with this movie. It's still really good. There's a lot to like about it, but it really works because we like. Well, I like Brie Larson's take on Carol Danvers, and I like Samuel Jackson as well. So them working together really elevates a lot of the stuff in the script that I felt was kind of like, this is a little too generic. I don't think it never felt like they were like really spending time with any one particular idea. It was really like, all right, next thing.
It was it moved very, very rapidly at that point. What I will also say, the other element that I really, really loved about this movie was the idea that don't always assume you're on the good side of things, because like her being with the Kree, her being like, we're the good guys, we're fighting these evil Skrull and all that kind of stuff, and then she learns the full story. Is like, wait, hold up.
Yeah, I really like that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
was
brought.
amazing to me.
Well, mostly I just like how they dealt with the Skrull.
Yeah,
I guess they put an S on it in the movies.
Yeah,
they are Skrulls.
And the idea that I love the complaint that people were like, "Oh, I guess the Skrulls are this they can't be bad now. We can't have secret invasion." I'm like, no, that's not true at all.
Yeah,
like there's a war there between the Skrull and the Kree.
We just saw the good ones, or we saw good people.
Exactly, we saw the people that are like, we have no interest in this. We just want to survive. We have a family. This is what we do. Yeah. Every war has that. Not everyone just because you're people or whatever are at war with something doesn't mean like everyone's there. Yeah. There are people that are like, no, we don't agree with this. We just want our own
also,
thing.
Like,
and to do our
Skrull
own
isn't
thing.
necessarily like an ethnicity. That's just like that's what populates whatever that planet is.
Exactly.
So like that would be like being like, hey, I'm talking about
Kree,
Skrull.
right? Or Skrull.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like that's like saying like like. I met 5 good humans. That must mean all humans are good.
Yeah.
Like,
don't take the
you
sample.
just met 5 good humans. That doesn't mean all humans are good or all humans are bad. If you meet 100 bad humans, doesn't mean all humans are bad. Just like if you met 1,000 Skrulls, doesn't mean all Skrulls are good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Number 12.
Oh, that's on you.
Oh
you
God, you're gonna.
It's always you first, then me.
Endgame.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that was Endgame to me. Like, granted, I only watched it one time. I will say that again. So this is my thing. You've watched it 4, and you have more time with the movie to dissect. But there's a lot in that movie that works really, really well, and then other things that just raise more questions, and it confuses me and all that kind of stuff. And I'm hoping that later today, when I rewatch the movie, I'm like, okay, you know, this makes a little bit more sense, or this, all this kind of stuff. Like, this is a movie that definitely needs to be rewatched. There's a lot in there. I was talking to a lot of people about this. They were really, especially my roommate, who is a woman, she was like really pissed off about the Captain Marvel stuff in this movie. Versus you and I think we've had this discussion during the podcast of Endgame, where we were like, no, they wrote Captain Marvel perfectly within the realm of this movie, because she was considered to be like the all-powerful whatever, but it just leads me into thinking that this is what they have set up for Phase 4 and the next phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where there's going to be a team of heroes on Earth defending Earth, and then there's going to be a cosmic element of everything, like they've already started doing. So the Captain Marvel, along with the Guardians of the Galaxy, Nova, whenever we see Nova, all those people are going to join up into some sort of cosmic force team to save the galaxy, so to speak. Along with Thor now, he's always been in that realm. He's never been fully on Earth. He's always been like, no,
Right.
We have 9 realms to take care of. This is what we're going to do. So I think that's what's going to happen in the next phases of the MCU.
Okay, but more about the movie.
But more about the movie, the Endgame itself was just like, there was things that after the fact, I'm like, I really didn't love what they did with the Hulk. The idea of making Professor Hulk was supposed to be the best of both worlds, but really they just nerfed Hulk a lot, in the sense where he was not really relevant in much of everything, except for the it was more Bruce Banner's stuff than it was actual Hulk stuff. So
I disagree. Because if he's not Hulk, he can't do the snap and survive and bring everyone back.
Well, yes, but of course it was just reduced down to the snap, and I wanted him to have more
reduced to
effect.
saving everybody.
Okay, fair. When you put it like that, it sounds stupid, but
I
wanted
don't
him
get
to
that
be
argument.
A little bit more
I've
on
seen the
fight
argument
stuff.
It's an argument that I'm just like, so it's stupid that he's the one that saved the day and gets to like
Don't
live
get
to
me
tell the
wrong.
story about it.
That is great for him. I just wanted him to be a bit more relevant in the final fight.
I guess it's a weird argument. It's a nitpick. I guess I'll just never
It's a
understand
nitpick
because
for
like
sure. It's a nitpick.
how would he stand out in that? The whole point is it's everybody fighting.
Yes.
It's not one person saves the day in a fight. He already saved the day. He brought back everyone, and then and again, it's because it's the best of both worlds. He has the smarts to know if I snap, the Hulk part of me is what's going to keep me going after
enough.
this. So we don't lose any. He's actually saving everyone else's life in that moment while bringing everyone back. So it doesn't make any sense to me that people are like, well, he didn't punch someone cool in the last fight. It's like, okay. But in that movie, we get to see him do even more stuff during the Avengers, when they go back to the first Avengers. Like, that's new Hulk smash stuff.
Which
So
is
again,
kind of funny to me. It's like, tap.
Yeah, like he doesn't want to do it anymore, but you still see the old one doing stuff, like where he's like beating the shit out of another Chitauri, or even the staircase thing. Like, you still get that stuff.
I was
It's just like
kind of hoping that
it makes no sense for his arc that he's still there. Like, that's what I like about the movie, is that it's the same arc as Thor, but it's like you're allowed to like you're allowed to be like, you can mix this stuff, right? Like, you don't need to be just the strong guy that everyone depends on.
Right.
And as you can see throughout the movie, he's the happiest he's ever been, because
that is true.
He's not trying to avoid the Hulk, and he's not trying to like bash down the smart part of him. He's actually put it together, and he's figured it out, which is why he has the wherewithal to be like, don't worry about it, I can take the snap.
I do like his awareness, in the sense where he's like, I used to think the Hulk was the disease.
Yeah.
No, it's the cure, and everything like that. And he fully leans into it. I like that self-acceptance. And even the dialogue in Infinity War, where he's like, Hulk, man, you and I got to work some stuff out. I mean, that foreshadowed the Professor Hulk stuff quite well. It's just the Endgame movie. It's really, really tough, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is, we're on 12, right? Captain America: The First Avenger.
Okay.
I really like this movie. Big again, like Doctor Strange. I was like, "There's no chance I'm gonna care about dumbass Captain America." And then,
Yeah.
all it took was him being like, "No, I just don't like bullies. I don't care where they're from." And I'm like,
It's not a
"Great,
full
they've like
patriotic thing. It's
they've
like, I
stripped
don't-
out the
yeah.
whole like, well, this is the American way. It's more this is personal to him about
Yes.
what he likes, and so I can get on board with that. And I
Yeah.
get and I." It's also the idea that Captain America is kind of like tongue in cheek or like a backhanded thing of like. You have to represent this, but you're representing something like something that your country doesn't actually stand for. Like
Yeah.
it's like there is that element. Like it complicates things in a good way. I feel like I really appreciate what they did with that character, and I 100% was in for the him and Peggy.
Yeah.
Stuff. As I said multiple times before, Endgame, like if it ends with him dancing with Peggy, then.
You're
It doesn't matter what happens before that, and it does end with him dancing with Peggy. But like, I'm just like, I love that metaphor of like, well, I never got to dance with anyone, and then like, don't worry, we'll have our dance. All the sacrifice he puts, but like, I mean, that's going forward. But like in First Avenger, I love that he has a team, but like you don't ever feel like he's just getting help. It's just like that's the idea that he's inspiring all these people.
Yes.
To like. They're like they know that they don't have his powers, but they're still like, well, like I'm cool, like fighting with this guy.
Yeah. I'm going to talk a bit more about Captain Marvel once we reach him. I mean, Captain America once we reach him on my list. But yeah, no, it's to your point. It's a character that I was just like, oh, this is going to be a snore fest. Like, I don't want to watch Captain America. He's a pure propaganda character. That's what he was made for.
Yeah. And they address that in the movie.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my god, they made me care about this. Like to the degree where like this is arguably the character I care about most in the MCU. Back
great.
when he was established, I'm like, this is awesome. There was a lot there that worked really, really well for me, but I'll talk about more when I get there.
All right, 11.
Number 11 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Boom, that makes sense.
Yeah. I really like this movie. It took way too long to get to the fact that Kurt Russell was the bad guy, so to speak. Ego, the planet. But there's a lot in this movie that worked really, really well. A lot of the CGI really hurt my eyes, and that really took away from that. There is a lot that worked really, really well. The fact that it was back-to-back to Guardians was fun to me because they're still trying to sort things out. They're still trying to figure all that kind of stuff out. That rocket scene where he's just like taking out the Reavers was just so badass.
That's amazing.
I love that scene so much. Peter Quill, doing his thing is always fun. And I really like the idea that Nebula and Gamora are really, really trying to sort their shit out here. It is
great for Nebula and Gamora.
Mostly Nebula, but yeah, it was a really, really good thing to watch. I loved it because she was just like, I just wanted a sister, and that killed me. Yeah. It killed me. I thought like the entire time she was driven, like, no, I have to prove that I'm better at you at least one time. She's like, no, I just wanted a sister. Yeah, I wanted someone to care, and I'm like, oh my god, that killed me. It really did. Yeah, it was really, really tough. Yeah.
My 11 is the Avengers.
Oh, nice.
It's good. No, here's the thing. It is really good for like when you watch. Like when I first saw it, I was like, I can't believe they did it. Like they finally they brought all these characters together and all they said. It was really fun. And then when you rewatch it, you're kind of like, I mean, I can skip this part. This is nice. I don't know. It is the fact that you're watching these characters come together for the first time.
Yes,
that's very exciting and cool. I just think that. It just speaks to how well MCU has progressed that they've been able to top being able to just be like, no, you just like it because all these people are together. Yeah. Like they can actually like build some true like story and conflict into it. This is like, like the Hawkeye stuff is like, well, he's just brainwashed for half of the movie, and you're kind of like, oh, okay. And I guess I do bump up against the Coulson stuff now because it's like they killed him and then they like, but don't worry, he's got his own TV show. He's back. And I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah, that's not cool. It's weird, like because when it happens in the movie when he dies, you're like, holy shit! Like he died for something he believed in, and it doesn't make it that he didn't do that in the because it's not like he was like, no, bring me back to life. But it is kind of like that was just like a move. That was just like a chess move, and he's fine now. Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, it doesn't look the best of the movies.
Yeah, I out of all the Captain America suits, that's the worst one.
Well, no, I know that part I don't care about. I'm talking about like just the actual look of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not
It
the
doesn't
best
look
shot.
great. My 10 is the Avengers too, so we're going to add on to this conversation as well. And the reason why is because, yes, at the time, you're like, oh my god, they pulled this off. And now you think about it, the nostalgia factor of it, but it's just like when I rewatched it, I was like, oh man, there's a lot of bumps in this movie. There's a lot of great moments, like the whole random like Hulk like hitting Thor for no reason whatsoever after they take down the big giant flying worm thing.
There's some great moments.
There's some great moments, and then the teamwork ability behind like some of those shots was really good.
I forgot to say, Black Widow's amazing in this movie.
Black Widow is amazing in this movie
because she's not just fighting people; like she's getting information in cool ways.
Yeah.
Like she does it at the beginning when you first meet her, and she's with like the
best.
Russians, I guess.
Yeah.
And then when she does it to Loki, I'm like, like this is how you use Black Widow. This is great.
Yeah, it was the best thing in the world because it was like, what? Hey, this phone call's for you. It's like, what are you doing? I'm in the middle of an interrogation right now, and she's strapped to the chair, and you're like,
no, we're interrogating. He's like, these
awesome.
idiots are giving me all their information.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not giving
awesome. Black Widow was a very, very effectively used in that movie, and there was a lot going on in that movie that I really, really enjoyed. But now that when you have the full roster, you have to bring it down in regards to its rankings because a lot of it is there was a lot of nostalgia behind that movie.
Yeah, I think they're just better at telling the stories they want to tell now.
Well, they definitely hit their stride. They figured out what they want to do.
So it does, I don't not like it. It's more just like these next movies I really, really like.
Yeah, that's why like we've breached top 10, and this is where to me it got really, really difficult to rank stuff.
Yeah,
so
I have to give my number
you've got to
10
do
now.
your 10, yeah.
Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh, nice. I thought that'd be higher on the
Ding,
list.
ding, 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 ding. No, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
I think that it was a great way of putting their stamp on Iron Man, on Spider-Man.
Yep.
Without getting into like it's just all assumed. Like I don't even think they mention Uncle Ben. He just says things like, "Well, no, I can't do that because of what happened with Aunt May." Like like she would hate that, or like you don't even hear him be like, "I got bit by a spider." You just hear Ned be like, "So like, can you like lay eggs or whatever?" Like it was. I just thought they did a great job of doing that. But and then again, his supporting cast is amazing. Like MJ. I liked Liz. Like I obviously didn't see the Vulture twist coming. The Vulture's amazing. Like, and it's not even like, oh, what a great fight scene. It's like that fucking car ride. Like basically from the moment he opens the door and the Vulture is his prom dates or whatever homecoming dates. Dad, you're just like, what? Like I honestly, again, like one of those things where like I can't believe that didn't leak. Other than someone accidentally put that it was MJ's dad, and I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense that she's like she's the daughter of a dick or something like that. But like, I guess it could have been ruined for me, but it wasn't. And I was like, I had that moment of like, holy shit! And like, from the house to the driving to the homecoming, you're just like, this is amazing filmmaking going on right now. Like, this is so good.
It's true.
And no one's like jumping around. There's no, and I'm not saying like, oh, CG ruins movies. I just mean like, oh, like the fact that I'm this riveted and all it is people.
Yeah.
And
That's
like
great
some
filmmaking,
cool lighting.
for sure.
Like this is really well done.
Yeah.
I love this. Obviously I'm a Donald Glover fan and I enjoy that he's a part of that and they make reference to Miles. It's got all
Lots
the pieces.
of great Easter eggs.
Yeah, there's just got all the pieces of like filling out this world in a way. And I do like their take on Flash Thompson that he's not a muscle bound thing. It's just like a more modern bully of just like, no, I don't have to beat you up. I just have to get everyone to fucking like dismantle you. Like, like I just have to get people to join in when I make fun of you.
I agree. I don't like. I think that old like classic huge bulky bully is it's a played out thing. I like this bully better in the sense where it's just like he actually, especially now with the Far From Home trailer, is like, what, I really respect the guy and everything like that. But he's still like, what up, dickwad?
Yeah.
That's a really fun thing for me to see. But I'll talk more about that when I get there. 9 for me is Thor Ragnarok. I really like this movie. It was just, it showed off so many of the comedic chops that I did not really expect from the character of Thor. Because of everything that we'd seen before, but of course it makes so much sense too. The idea that he's like, with the stuff in Sakaar was really, really great. Where he's like, you know what, that elevator scene with him and Loki talking, he's like,
Great.
you know what, I actually agree. You should be here. This world is perfect for you. And let's be honest, our paths diverged a long time ago. So after this, maybe we should just not try anymore. And that was heartbreaking to me for him to have that conversation, and then for immediately to go like, hey, let's get help. Get help was so much fun. The whole Hela stuff was really, really good. Breaking Mjolnir was a big shock to us. All that stuff was
and
fantastic.
they worked in the Doctor Strange stuff well.
They did work in the Doctor
I know
Strange
that's
stuff.
after, that's at the end of Doctor Strange, but like when it happens in the actual movie, it's also really good.
It's so good. It really, really is good. The idea is like, oh, so this is your business here. This is what, and okay, so I will help you.
Yeah, he's like,
100%.
oh, then you'll go away. Good.
Yeah, it was perfect. And there was so many things about that movie that I loved. It's like, oh, don't forget your umbrella, and it's like crashes everything.
Hold on a second.
Sorry.
Ragnarok is great.
Yeah, it's a great, great, fun movie, and then you got great characters like Korg.
Korg is great. I liked Hela. We didn't really talk about it, but shoot.
Hela's fantastic in that.
I guess I'll just save what I like for later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like Ragnarok. My number 9 is Iron Man.
Cool.
I guess I just have a thing of like, I acknowledge how well made it is, but I'm also like, I just want to get to the other stuff. Like, I get, this is good. This is good. Just like, imagine like when I can watch him like interact with everybody.
Yeah.
And I think there is an element of like, it's also the Terrence Howard one. So like, like, even though, as I said initially, I think he probably works best for what they wanted for Rhodey, because I just feel like Don Cheadle's too like,
he's too serious.
No, I don't think that. I think he's very funny. I think
actually he is very funny.
I think he doesn't need any validation.
Yes.
So then it's a weird spot to put. I guess that's why he just kept being more separate. But like, it's harder to take him as a subordinate or even a sidekick because he's so sure of himself, and like it doesn't come off as like he's bragging. And it's just like, no, like that's Don Cheadle. I trust him to know what he's doing. So he doesn't really need like Iron Man to be like, yeah, good job, or like to work with Iron Man. So whereas Terrence Howard, I could see him in that like, hey, like we're best friends. Like I just do what you do, or whatever. Anyway, the point is, I like Iron Man. Yeah. I love the tag at the end.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing.
But
so cool.
I guess there's no but. I just like the other movies better.
Yeah,
it's a really well made movie, and I like the other ones better. 8 is for me Captain America: The First Avenger. Pretty high up. I like that.
I love that movie.
Before you say what you like, I forgot to say I love Tommy Lee Jones in that movie, but apparently he hated every second of it.
Yeah, he hated every second of that.
That does not read to me at all.
Well, because like this is the funniest thing I like about Tommy Lee Jones. Anytime you see a picture of Tommy Lee Jones or a performance, it's like, imagine his son telling him that they wanted to be a professional unicycler or something like that, and he's just like, what? Yeah, he didn't want to be in that movie, but it doesn't come across that way because I guess it builds into that character really, really well.
Yeah, they just lucked out that like,
yeah, it really worked out.
If
well.
Either he's game or he delivers his lines like he doesn't want to be there, and it makes sense because the character doesn't want to be there. Yeah,
there's a lot in that movie that I thought was really, really good. The fact that he is Captain America before he eats his muscles is great. That whole like
that's always the case. But
the movie theater scene is like, hey, would you have some respect? And it's like, oh, come on, just get to the cartoons. And he's fighting. It's like, I could do this all day. It starts off like that. It's so good. And then that point where he picks up the shield with the garbage
trash
can lid.
Yeah.
There's so many things about that movie that are just fantastic. That was a movie that, oh my god, okay, I'm on board with this character.
Yeah.
This alliteration of this character was not a pro-America thing. It was like, I just do not like bullies. Fucking fantastic.
Wait.
8 for you.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah?
Great film. Love it. What a good time at the movies.
Yeah.
I did not want to like these movies. I did not like the director.
Yep.
And I was like, who the fuck wants Guardians of the Galaxy? Who even knows what this is?
Yeah.
And then the first trailer came out. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And the movie did not disappoint.
Yep.
It followed through on, like, whoever put that trailer together did a great job of, like, understanding what that movie is, because there was no drop off from the trailer to the movie. I wasn't like, yeah, but, like, I was just like, no, that was a perfect representation of the time I was going to have during that movie, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
Again, there's no real, like, I have negative things to say at this point. Like, I just really like this movie, and I like the other ones better. I thought they did a great job of building out who the characters were, and the fact that I cared about them, like, even to the point of me being like, I'll probably like Star-Lord, but I was like, no, I legitimately care about Groot as well.
Yeah.
I thought they did a great job with that, and obviously the relationship with Groot and Rocket, because I was like, I'm fairly certain I will like Rocket.
Yeah.
Like, there's just that look. I didn't know anything. I know that in the comics he's like British, or like sometimes people characterize him as British because I think they wanted Jason Statham to do the voice.
Oh, really?
But I was like, oh, whatever, man. Like, Bradley Cooper does the voice, and it works perfectly fine. I think it works perfect. Yeah. It's a really well-made movie.
I agree. 7 for me is Iron Man.
Nice.
It built the world in such a fantastic way. It was so grounded. It made sense as like a weapons developer, like turned defense guy and all that kind of stuff. Just doing all
cheeseburgers.
It was so well done. He's like, because this is a guy that just obviously doesn't care about anything but himself, but he gets woken up. He gets humbled. Does that really, really well. The Obadiah Stane thing worked really, really well too. I like that a lot. It's like, hey, I was running this company, and then you turned 21, and you got to take over it, and I'm pissed off now. And then, but I still got to respect you, and then undermining him and all that kind of stuff. It worked really, really well. I like that. I like the fact it's like Tony Stark did this in a cave with nothing, and I'm giving you millions of dollars, and you can't do it. It really spoke to how smart Tony Stark was. And the one thing that. The guy in the cave that was helping Tony, that
Jensen,
yeah, that was so brutal to me. It's like, this was always the
I
plan.
love that
I'm
actor
gonna
just
see
off
him.
of that performance.
Yeah,
alone.
that was a fantastic
I was so
performance.
happy he was in Iron Man 3.
Yep.
When he was just, because he tells the story in the cave, and you're like, well, that's never come. Like, I didn't just think about it, and then in Iron Man 3, but that's the story he's telling. This is it. This is Iron Man.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I liked Iron Man 3 more than most people. I was like, they call. There's a callback.
Fair enough.
Sean Taub.
Sean
as
Taub.
Jensen.
Fair enough. But yeah, the transition of him becoming Iron Man was a fun one. It was like the idea of the Mark II was, or like him trying to learn how to fly. Yeah. All that kind of stuff was so much fun to watch. And his robots,
No, the Dummy 1 and Dummy 2.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. That movie was really, really fun. And then Pepper Potts being like a badass right off the. He's like, you must be the famous Pepper Potts, and like that dialogue
including
between her
taking
and, like,
out the
Leslie
trash,
Bibb.
bitch.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
that was a finger snap. It's a good time. But yeah, Iron Man.
That's your number 7.
That's my number 7.
Oh, my number 7 is Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Nice.
As I said when we first I think people love the newness of Guardians of the Galaxy, but I love the deepness of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I think once you get over, like, yeah, we're not going to surprise you again because you already know it. The fact that they can go deep on Nebula, on Kraglin, like the fact that like I have a deeper appreciation of those characters who could obviously always just operate as nobodies. Like the fact that I care when Yondu dies.
Yeah,
that's
I forgot
a big
to talk
deal.
about Yondu in my thing.
But like I just, as I said when we first reviewed it, I think the highs are higher than Guardians of the Galaxy, and people were just really like, no, I really like the first one. It's not like they did this. It's like, well, yeah,
I'm
it's
off
like,
that camp.
Yeah,
I'm
it's just like
off that camp.
it's like, yeah, you were surprised the first time, but like, what did they do the second time when they came back to it? They dug deeper, and they were able to mine a lot more emotional responses.
Yes.
Even
with the Sylvester Stallone stuff, he's like, you think it makes me happy to kick you
Yeah.
out? It doesn't. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like
great.
all that Yondu stuff, like that really pays. Like almost cried like when not when he died, but like
When he got
when
the
Sylvester
colors.
Stallone comes back and
Yeah.
they do the colors for
When
him,
they
and
do the
that like
colors
means
for the
something to
Ravager
Kraglin,
funeral.
and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm really happy. Like they really paid this off.
Yeah. That made me cry like crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand. It took too long to show that what's his face was the villain. Like that's just how the story goes. Like,
Yeah.
And I like that the idea was they're constantly telling him
Mm-hmm.
why do you care so much about this? You already have your family,
Yeah.
and he's looking in the wrong place for what he already has. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Kind of like the fans that are looking in the wrong place for the better Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But yeah, I think that it's a really, I guess I just really like how emotional it gets, considering
Yeah.
they could have easily gone what people think is autopilot for this movie. I don't think it is. I think James Gunn dug even deeper.
You know what? I gotta rewatch it with that lens, just because I love watching Guardians of the Galaxy.
And I feel like
1 and
if
2.
you, I just think it's better at developing the characters.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. I thought it was really well done.
Number 6, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
That is a good movie.
I love that movie, man. It's
Yeah.
a great movie. The idea of Captain America trying to fit into this world, needing a battle, but also this is where I love where the Captain America propaganda, pro America stuff stops, in the sense where it's like, you're not fighting for freedom anymore. This is this is not peace with a gun against the head or something like that. He says, it's a fantastic movie in the sense where it's like they challenge a lot of stuff, and he challenges everything that he's going against. He's not a character that's just like, nope, I'm going to go with what you're telling me to do, and that's all I'm going to do. Like he breaks away from the mission. He does all those different things. It's a great movie. And then when he's fighting Bucky at the end, and he's like, I'm not letting you go and everything like that. I'm just like, that was heart-wrenching. It really was. Yeah, I loved it.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
My number 6 is Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I think it is amazing. The only thing I think is weird is there's no Lady Sif, and then she doesn't show up ever again.
Yeah,
I find that
that's
weird.
constantly a weird thing for me.
I am perfectly fine with the other 3 dying, and I like that. I think his name is Hero in the movies. I don't know the actual character name, but like the Warriors 3, I was like, yeah, that's fine, kill them. I don't care about them. But I thought they did Hogan, sorry, not Hero.
Yeah.
It's Hogan. He he actually puts up a fight. I'm like, all right, cool, man.
I
You're
like
still
that.
gonna die, but yeah, like good. I like that you put up a fight.
Yeah.
I like, again, it's digging deeper with the characters on something where, well, I mean, on this one, I'm sure they knew like they had to do well. Like they couldn't do a third one, like after Dark World, but like that, just that added thing of Hela and like peeling back the veneer of Asgard and stuff.
Oh,
like
God,
I thought that was really well done. The elevator scene with Loki, like just him being like, no, like I thought the world of you, but you know, like you've made it quite clear you don't want the same things I want. So yeah, maybe we should go different ways.
Yep.
That's amazing. I do love that. Like the funny stuff really works for me. Like when he's like trying to do the Black Widow thing on Hulk.
Yeah.
Or just
That's
like,
so good.
and then he was like, oh, like,
And I love that smile he has first.
and then when he's like, Hulk is
"Yeah,
dumb,
good."
and then he's like, is he? If
That-
I'm
I
being
like that.
honest,
He's like-
he's like, no, I like you. You're the best. If I'm being honest, though, it would be very helpful.
That's so good. It's like, Banner, no, I don't like Banner. He's like math, science, blah, 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 blah. No, I like you. You're all punch fire. No,
And I
it's
also like
so
the callback
funny.
to Ragnarok in Endgame when Thor's like, no, I'm the strongest Avenger. But in Ragnarok, when he tries to use that to get into the ship, it's like, no, Hulk is the
what?
strongest Avenger. And then Hulk gets to do the snap. But like, I thought they did a good job of pivoting and being like, we can still have the grandeur of like Asgard and all that stuff, while acknowledging that we were misusing Chris Hemsworth. Because
Yes.
I've always said I like Chris Hemsworth's performances. I just feel like they always try to wedge him into
They're making him do something
bad
that he
things.
shouldn't.
Not bad things, just they're not exploring the full potential. And
I agree.
Thor Ragnarok finally does that.
Yeah, because the the two Thor movies beforehand were like serious Thor. It's just like we get it. Like
Again, I would
that's how he's
still
always
say
been portrayed.
there's
but
always
we want the more human aspect.
there's
of the
always
character.
humor and
Yes.
there's always a humanity to Thor. I
Yes.
think people conflate like that you're laughing more this time with him telling jokes, which he's not doing. He's
No.
constantly doing exactly what he did before.
Yeah.
It's just
The situation is
circumstances
funnier.
are
Yeah.
better. Yeah, because I think when we first did it, you were like, "No, he's being too quippy." I'm like, "He's really not doing any quips."
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. In the beginning, when we reviewed it, he was I was fully on board. I thought he was being too quippy, like out of character. But now, when I rewatched it a couple of times, I'm like, no, it's fully within character.
Yeah, he's doing the exact same things. It's just
Yeah, because like
a better setup for him.
yes, because if anyone disagrees with me, watch the first like few scenes in the first Thor where like he's being brought to Odin to get the kingship or whatever, and he's just like he's not serious. He's celebrating. He's like, "Yeah, cheer for me," and all this kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
like
I'm
he
the
doesn't
greatest.
tell
Cool.
jokes. It's just
No.
he's always not always like his humor comes from him reacting the wrong way to a situation.
Yes.
Like his reaction does not fit the situation, and that's where the humor comes. And that's always been the case. It's just now there's funny people around him as well, so it feels a bit more open to what he's doing. It doesn't land with a thud as much
Yeah.
as the other stuff. But that's what I'm saying. Like I thought they did a good pivot of staying true to who he is, but
Yes.
also like because it's a very sad art that like systematically
Oh, it's
everyone gets
horribly-
killed. Like,
horribly sad.
Yeah.
He loses his home. He loses everything.
Yeah, so
except for what he's left with, and the idea he's like
and he loses an eye.
he loses an eye. I love that. I love the jokes in it that like he's like, "Are you the god of hammers or the god
Yeah.
of thunder?" And then the idea of realization too is like Asgard's a place. It's not. It's not.
Well, it's a people,
It's a
not a
people,
place.
not a place. Leading
A lot
him
of
to
good that did
establish, yeah, the new Asgard on Earth and everything like that, which does have comic book origins
Yes.
and all that kind of stuff. So that's really really cool. Yeah.
I'm excited. We're in the top 5.
We're in the top 5, and my top 5 starts off with Spider-Man: Homecoming. I love this movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a fantastic movie. I identify so much with this character, and like you know that I usually don't like kid movies. I loved this kid movie. The struggle of like I'm trying to prove myself. I want to do more. I can do more. Let's give me more to do. And it's just like having someone watch over him and be like, "No, you're not ready. You're not ready. You're not ready." And him finally proving himself at the end, and then him and the Tony mentorship thing.
It's really good.
That was so great to watch because, like, I remember that one scene where he's like, "Why do you care? You're not even here right now," and he pops out of the suit. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!"
That was amazing.
It was a really, really good scene because that first time he was like, "No, I'm not even here right now. I'm in Delhi at a wedding or something like that." That was really, really fun. This whole movie works. I like the fact that, like, again, small scale. This is a villain that's very aware. It's like, no, I don't want to kill the world. I just want to like make money because I've been wronged by Tony Stark.
And it's not even like I'm gonna like. Well, he wants to steal from Tony Stark, but but he even doesn't want to do that right away because he's like, no, like that's too high profile. Like,
Yeah.
So it's a nice take on like, no, I'm gonna get what I'm owed from being screwed over, but it's not like I'm like, and now I'm like fixated on killing Tony Stark.
Yeah.
It's just like, the more I don't like make myself visible, the more I can keep doing what I'm doing and provide for my family.
Yeah, and I like the idea of when they introduce Donald Glover's character, the
Well, he turns
Prowler,
into the Prowler.
who
What's his
turns
name?
into the
Aaron
Prowler.
Davis.
Aaron Davis. I like the idea that he's like, "Yo, man, I just want some small shit. Why are you trying to upsell me on this? I don't want to ruin the world." And then he's like, when he basically rats on him, on where these weapons are coming from, he's like, "Yeah, I got a nephew in this neighborhood. I don't want that shit around here."
Yeah.
But also he's like, "Hey, let me give you a little bit of advice. You need to get better at this part of the job." I'm like, that was so funny to me. He's like,
It's really well done.
and he's like, "Yeah, you got to fix this." Like, no, that'll wear off in an hour. It's like, no, I got ice cream in the fridge, man. I got ice
serves
cream
you
in the
right.
car. It's like, it serves you right. Like, don't do crime. It was really funny. I like the fact that Aunt May found out. There was a lot of beats in this movie that were a lot of fun to me.
Yep.
And the Ned being caught in the computer room.
I'm looking
He's
at
like,
porn.
"What are you doing here?" "I'm looking at pornography."
Yeah,
was the best thing
Ned is
ever.
great in these movies.
Ned
I was
is
really happy to
fantastic.
see him in the movie I'm about to talk about, Infinity War. That's my number
your
5.
eh? Cool.
Yeah, I had it higher even on my blog, but Today, I don't feel that way anymore.
Oh, yeah,
I
why is
feel
that?
like well, it's in the top 5. Like, it's
Well,
not like
I'm-
I was
I'm-
like,
I'm sure,
what a
like-
drop from grace.
No, I'm sure that the other movies I'm not going to have a hard time arguing with.
Yeah. No, this
Yeah.
one, I think, when we first reviewed Endgame,
Yeah.
I said, and I basically got there, what I said was, I look at this as Kill Bill 1 and Kill Bill 2, and I definitely like Kill Bill 2 better because there's time to breathe and there's like a little more, you go a little bit deeper with things.
Yep.
So yeah, the fun of Infinity War, I feel like even when I told you I watched Infinity War right before Endgame, knowing where Endgame goes, I was kind of like, yeah, like this is still well made, but I just want to get to those parts in Endgame.
Sure.
Like this is all set up, and yeah, it is really good at what MCU does, which is set up things to come later.
Yep.
Even by having Thanos win at the end, that's clearly not going to stand. So even that, as much as people are like, no, that's the end, he won, and you're like, yeah, fair enough, but it is setting up what's going to happen.
Yep.
Like that, these are now the stakes. We got to reverse what Thanos did. So it feels, and we talked about this. Like for fans, it was great.
Yep.
But it's not a complete movie, even in the sense of like I mean, maybe you could watch that without knowing anything else, but it's very tied to all the other stuff.
God, yeah.
And like I disagree that it's not a cliffhanger ending. I don't think anyone in the audience could be like, well, I guess that's the end of that. Then he did it. It's over.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's clearly not a cliffhanger. Like, who said it was? There's no cliffhanger.
no, I do think it's a cliffhanger
Oh,
because the
yeah.
idea is, well, how are they going to fix this?
Yeah, of course.
I don't think anyone comes away from it being like, well, that was nice. I guess they're done with making these movies. It's the
Could
point.
you imagine? It's
The
like, oh,
point
yeah,
of saying
MCU's
Thanos will
so-
return is basically being like, okay, well then we're going to be doing more stuff.
I love that. By
But
the
that's
way.
what I'm saying.
It's not the
It all
Avengers
is-
will return. Thanos. I'm like, yes, that's
but it's
awesome.
all set up for you to be like, what's going to happen next? Which to me is a cliffhanger. That is not tying it off.
Yep.
It is baiting you into being like, come back next week
Yep.
because Thanos
Oh
will be
wait, there's more.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand how people can. I find it kind of obtusely be like, no, it's not a cliffhanger because but it's like,
It's a cliffhanger.
like yeah, they need you to come back. Like that wasn't capping things off the way Endgame does. So for me, it's like, okay, like this is really good at getting me excited.
Yeah.
But I feel like knowing there is that second part to it kind of devalues it because I'm just like, well, it really it's just a great trailer for the next movie because it's like
see what you're
yes,
saying.
yeah, like before when all we had was that, it was like, wow, that was great. I can't believe they did that. With everyone being like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Like or like, and specifically speaking about like how are they going to resolve what happens in this specific movie next? So it did its job of doing that.
Yes.
So that's why I feel like it's not it doesn't feel as satisfying as a movie.
Sure.
So what's your number 4?
4 is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that movie so much.
It's really well made.
It's so well made. It was the jokes in it are fantastic. Establishing those characters, making me care about Groot, a character that only says "I am Groot" the
And we are
entire
Groot.
time, and we are Groot. The entire when he died, that
was a big deal.
That was a big deal, and it was so.
I was
so
like, wait, no,
heart-wrenching.
like what? He's dead?
Yeah.
No, he'll be back. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, if you wait long enough, actually, he isn't back. He's just dead.
Yeah.
But like, you see his
It's a
son
new
later.
Groot,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
So like that was really really cool to me. It's watching how they made Groot a real character was really cool to me because I'm just like that's a hard character to pull off. But they did it and it worked so well. The idea that they're not wanting to work together initially, but they're just like, no, this is the payoff that we're going to get, and Drax is like, no, I'm staying with you because I need Gamora to get to Thanos and everything like that. There was so many different things about this movie that were great. Just Drax being so literal and everything like that was the funniest thing in the world. But one of my favorite Drax moments is in Volume 2, where he's talking about how he met his wife and how she would not move, not even to the beat of music, and it would make him his nether regions engorge, as the terminology is. So that was really, really good. But Guardians of the Galaxy 1, it was a movie that 100% like you. I'm like, oh, I'm watching this just because I have to do a review on the podcast, and then ended up being
No, we didn't do the podcast when Guardians of the Galaxy
we
came
didn't
out.
do
No.
wow. Anyways, ended up watching it, and I was like,
I mean, you probably were just like everyone. I was like, well, I guess I'm already in for these kinds of movies, so I'm going to watch it. Yeah,
100%. Oh, you know what that was to me? It was a date movie.
Oh wow,
that was a date movie. We did, and I think this was obviously the person who was dating at the time, that didn't work out. But either way, you know what, people? Just a little bit of advice from a failed date: do the movie first, then the dinner, so you have something to talk about.
That is right on the money, baby.
Yeah. Solid date advice. When someone said that, I was like, whoa.
That is the best way to do it.
Yeah, when we were like at dinner, there was nothing to talk about, and because she was kind of like one of those people that just doesn't really egg a conversation on. She's like one word answers.
Yeah.
But after the movie, there was like so much to talk about, but it was already 12, and I was like,
bye.
This clearly did not go well, so I'm gonna go home now. Do the movie before the dinner.
Yeah. So Guardians of the Galaxy is your number 4, right?
Yep.
Mine is Winter Soldier.
Gotcha.
I remember when I saw it, I was like, this is as close as they're gonna get to Dark Knight. Like this is
really? Eh?
This is just. This isn't like jokey. This is like really down the line. Like not down the line. It's not boring. It's more like you feel the gravitas of it. Like it's in as much as a Marvel movie will do that. Yes. Like there's still fun parts, and I really did like that they introduced Falcon and had Black Widow there, and it never felt like they were crowding. It was just like this makes sense. Like this, I really like this. Like they got those characters down really well. I think where it does fall apart for me is if I have to say anything, obviously it's number 4. So I'm not like this movie, but it's more like it's just like when I was rewatching it, I was kind of like, yeah, I already know Alexander Pierce is the bad guy, so it's like. It's hard, like, and I knew going into it. It's not like I don't even think the like commercials really tried to hide that he was probably the bad guy, but it was more like I'm like, I guess they could have had more fun with how like evil he could be, like before the big reveal. Like they could have just like there could have been more of that. So it kind of loses steam in the midsection, but it's a really well made movie. And
the Alexander Pierce stuff. What the like? Oh, he's a Hydra agent. That was a big shock to me, but like the idea of like his program, I'm like, it makes sense. I mean, like preventing crime, but it's just to the degree that he's willing to go. It's like, whoa, man, you're going too far, and you're like, Hail Hydra. I'm like, oh, that's why. Gotcha. Fair enough.
Yeah, I really liked it, and I always remember when he's like showing Cap the new. Or is it Nick Fury showing him the new like Quinjets, and he's just like they got an upgrade because Tony Stark got up close and personal. I'm like, yeah, from Avengers when he got stuck in the blade, he probably would have some upgrades.
Yeah.
I again, it's linking to the other like I mean, it has a big implication because Shield falls in that movie. I forgot to even say that like Nick Fury actually has like a storyline in it, and it like. Really works, and you feel like he's actually a part of it, like Captain Marvel. Like you actually feel like, oh, he's actually a part of the action, and it's good. And I just like the way Cap and Black Widow operate together.
Oh God, yeah, to see them working together as such a cohesive team, but like a platonic team where it's just kind of like, even during like the phases where they're like prepping for the missions that they're about to do. What about that girl that's like down the hall from you? Is like, oh yeah, she's good. No, okay,
yeah,
that was a lot of fun. To try to get him back into the realm of dating.
Number 3,
Civil War.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
I love this movie, man. It's so good. Oh God, I love movies where the villain wins, and he definitely wins in this. And he didn't need to be super powered. He just needed to play mind games and manipulate situations. It was friggin' phenomenal.
Zemo's great.
Baron von Zemo is fantastic in this movie. How he puts that divide between Steve and Tony is just crazy to me. The visual effects of this, and then also how that woman, was about just talked about her son being in Sokovia and all that kind of stuff. And really,
Alfred Woodard, I remember that.
Yeah, that was great scenes. And like the entire time, the debates between the team was fantastic to me. I always thought I'd be on Team Captain America for what he stands in, but I'm like, no, I ended up being on Team Iron Man. Because
More
I'm like,
praise.
It was so good. I love the idea. It's like, no, you know what? He's right. Like, you can't have power out of check or everything like that. And the payoff that it actually has in Endgame as well is like, man, you said if this is going to happen, we're going to go down together. You weren't there for me and all that kind of stuff. There's so much character arcs that gets fully fleshed out from all these different things. It's just such a great movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Civil War is great. Are we on number 3?
We are 3. That was my 3.
Oh, Endgame.
Yeah.
Love it. Great movie. Here's the thing. Also not a complete movie for obvious reasons,
Yes.
but it is the conclusion, so it feels way more satisfying to me. Not only is it concluding the stuff that was left in Infinity War, but it is concluding a bunch of stuff.
Like
the
from
whole
all
thing,
character
and
arcs.
I just feel like it is a more it's just a more satisfying watch.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel better at the end of it. It's not because the good guys win. It's more just because I'm like, all right, I've got the answers. I think that what probably holds it back is that it's a movie that needs to be seen more than once. I don't think it works as well for certain people just on one watch because so much is riding on it that you might just be like, well, it wasn't what I want, or these things aren't the way I saw it playing out. But once you know where it's going, I think watching it a second time, you're like, I understand how they built up to everything. We just did the Endgame podcast, so if you want more of my insights into it, that's pretty much how I feel. Is what I said in there. I hope I said this, but I just knew that it's probably a movie that will grow on me, and it has grown on me. I've only seen it one more time since we recorded because I'd already seen it 3 times by the time we recorded. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, I truly appreciate this. And I think for me, loving the team up stuff, the fact that they're all together at once also helps. It's like it's kind of what I wanted out of Infinity War, of like seeing them, not just the Tony and Steve stuff, but just like actually having those characters interact. And I thought that they mind, like, the idea that you have like Spider-Man and Valkyrie together, like, that's insane. Like, that's really cool.
So cool.
So like, again, for me, the highs are higher than in Infinity War. Infinity War, actually, when you watch, I'm kind of like, that's quaint, that's nice. Whereas like Endgame, you're like, holy shit, it's happening, we did it. So yeah, I think I do like today Endgame better, and it's in my 3rd place for all the reasons I said in the podcast, and even when we were talking about your kind of quibbles with it, I think it's a better thought out movie than people give it credit for. I think a lot of pieces really do fall into place.
I will text you after our rewatch today and let you know.
Well, yeah,
but right now it's time for my number 2, which is Black Panther.
Pooh, number 2. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about Black Panther. Well, mostly you talk about Black Panther.
My God, I love this movie.
I'm kidding. It's my number 2 as well.
Is it also?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this. I love Black Panther from what it symbolizes, from what it proves, from everything that it does from a social justice standpoint. The fact that it's a really, really well written movie without, if you even take away all that kind of stuff, it's a really well done movie. Like, they created a whole nation, they created cultures within that nation, a whole story behind it. There was so much going on there. Killmonger. Oh my God!
He's amazing.
It's
crazy that he didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing role. Well acted. I love Michael B. Jordan even more because of that role. And there's just so much. The casino scene. Oh God, everything. It just that was a wild movie. I loved it. There was elements of like the 007 kind of like, here's the gadget stuff that you can be really like the 007 stuff doesn't do that well anymore because the realm of what the gadgets are within our reality now. But the stuff with Black Panther being like the 007 stuff, but I'm like, there's no way we're gonna get to that level of reality because we don't have vibranium. You know, it's just that it brings back that magic of the character. There's so much sophistication behind it. That final scene where
Killmonger and
not only that, the UN scene where he's like, "Oh,
I don't care about that bullshit."
I love that scene.
Meh.
That was a great final, like, screw you to everything else, and we've proved this is what we can do. This is fucking fantastic. Soundtrack to that movie, amazing, so good. It's just such a great movie. You talk about it now.
No, it's a really well made movie. I think. Well, obviously, you can listen to our Black Panther episode.
Yes.
Pretty sure it's episode 61. So that's how I feel. It's on the blog. Like I wrote about it on the opinion section of tdferything.com/opinions. We did that John Campia episode where I talked about what I think makes that movie good, even if you take away representation, even though I don't know why people are really like push up against like, no, who cares about representation? But even if you want it to be that type of person that decides that's not important, we talked about how tight the writing is and what that movie is trying to accomplish and how everything actually ties in. There is no real fat to cut from it. Everything makes, like, there's a point to every scene, basically, every interaction, and it's all leading to one thing. So I think all of that makes it great, in addition to, all the representation stuff. I think the female empowerment works a bit better because I like when I say things like when I like point out things like, you know that Killmonger, or you should know Killmonger isn't like secretly right about everything, because he's the only person from Wakanda who, up until there's you obviously know he's a villain, but he's like the only Wakandan that actually lays a hand on a female in that movie. Like everyone else is very deferential to the women, and like they are the king's bodyguard. Like that's who's trusted with actually protecting him. And the fact that he shoots his girlfriend to like get out of a situation, the fact that he strangles that one. Well, all I'm saying is all of that speaks to how seeped into the actual DNA of the movie, the female empowerment, the representation of black people. It's not just lip service. It's not just something they sprinkled on top. It is from the ground up a part of the movie, and you can see it by breaking down things like that. So I think it's a meticulously made movie. Obviously, it helps that the director, and this is part of what I said about Captain Marvel, was I was like, you could like, there's certain movies you can tell where like that director has like this personal stake in it, and I remember him talking about how this for him was the story about how he reconciles with being this American that has this connection to. So he is going through it through Killmonger's eyes. Obviously, I don't think he is Killmonger, but that's part of that. That is part of the personal thing. So anytime Killmonger says something that you're like, yeah, that's kind of true, I can see that being the director of like, you like every time a black American tries to stand up, he gets shot down or killed or whatever, and you guys have the technology that, and like, or just the fact that like you don't feel connected to that to that history, that rich history that will have you lost. And I think that's the extent to which he's Killmonger's feeling lost, not being connected to that. All of that is very important stuff, and I think speaks to a movie that can go a little bit further than, wasn't it cool when they all came back together after the snap and beat up Thanos? I think it goes a bit further, and that's why I never understand the or you shouldn't go off of sentimentality. Like, what else are we doing here if not connecting to this art on a personal level and feeling how that affects our lives?
Art is supposed to make us feel something, and this movie Black Panther makes us feel so much, or made me feel so much. And people are like, why are you saying this? Like, you're not even black. I'm like, no, man, like, fuck that shit. Like, that's racist for you to say. Like, don't tell me that I can't be happy about this movie and what it stands for because of all the other races in the world that are oppressed, and that. But also,
it's a well-made movie that you can find what applies to you in it.
Exactly.
You don't need to like be like, well, I don't have black skin, so this obviously is all a moot point because I'm not black.
That's ridiculous. Because to me, the thing that, I mean, aside from the oppression stuff and like empowerment and all that kind of stuff, one of the themes and motifs in this movie is the challenge behind keeping someone traditional and then moving towards the new thing and critically thinking. The battles and the debates between Okoye and Nakia and what they're doing, and then the idea that he finally gets to be in the realm of the dead again, speak to his father and be like, you were all wrong. You did this. A king isn't worthy of it, all this kind of stuff. I'm going to move in the right direction. I'm going to move where I want to go now, as opposed to being grounded in tradition. Actually, I'm not saying tradition is always wrong. I'm just saying that there comes to be a point in time where if people say to you, that's the way we've always done it, you have to start questioning it, because that's not a good reason for anything.
And what I also like, and I think I said this to someone at work as well, who was kind of like, that just seemed dumb. It was like, again, going beyond the representation thing of like, unlike a Batman who's like, well, yeah, I caught the bad guy, put him in jail, knowing that we're going to repeat this cycle. He actually breaks the cycle, and comes away at the end. Again, I've already talked about this. Everything is him collecting information and then making an informed decision at the end that actually creates a difference. It's not just like, well, now I'm just doing it because I don't want to do what they used to do. It's like, here is all the information. This is what we do well. This is where we're lacking, and this is how we can move forward. And that creates a big change for everyone. And a lasting change. And I think that's really cool. Yeah,
to the people that always critique it, to say like, it took him too long to do anything. I'm like, dude, he's the leader of a nation, and I would like to think that there's more thought put into something like the future of a nation, where the direction goes. So for him to take that time is a good thing, as opposed to him being reckless and being like, this is what I'm going to do, which is exactly the issue with Thor. Was like, he's going to be just reckless and do what he wants to do, and he gets punished for that. With Black Panther, he doesn't get punished because he's the king, but he's taking the job and the role seriously right off the bat, which is amazing. It's just, he's taking all that thought into consideration. Love this movie, but not my top one, unfortunately, because to me, my number one movie in the MCU is Infinity War. 100% it's Infinity War. To me, it's the pinnacle of what a comic book movie should be. Bring in characters all over the place to team up and all that kind of stuff. But also, I love how much when the villain wins, and this villain wins in the best way possible. He succeeds, and maybe that's because of hubris of the villain, the characters and everything like that. They used the Russos were very aware of the characters they were using. They didn't have the fumbling of the Captain Marvel stuff, where they clearly admitted that they didn't know what to do with Captain Marvel, so they had to sideline her and not integrate her in. But it was like the idea that this is the MCU up until now. This is what we're fully capable of. This is what we're pushing forward. This is what we're doing. It worked so well in so many different ways. You got a lot of characters having their moments, like Spider-Man being like, hey, you remember that really, really old movie Aliens? Doing that kind of stuff that's fully within character and working really, really well. And having pushback on certain things, too, like Doctor Strange pushing back on Tony to be like, hey, unlike all the other people in your life, I don't work for you, so I can do my own thing. It's just such a great and perfect movie to me. Yes, your critiques are completely valid. If you do not know anything about the MCU, this is not a movie that you can watch and be like, oh, I know what's going on. You watch it and be like, ooh, these are very, very cool visuals. The lighting was really good. And say all those kind of things, what people say when you don't really like something that they've created from a movie standpoint, but still don't want to shit all over them. I get that. And there's a lot of issues with the fact that how was the Infinity Gauntlet just created for Thanos recently, when Odin had the design of the Infinity Gauntlet with the gems in. There's all that kind of storytelling stuff, but there's going to be some speed bumps over 11 years of storytelling for sure. But that's Infinity War to me is perfect.
Excellent.
Yeah.
This is where I show that I'm not shit, because all that praise I gave of Black Panther and why it's so important. Civil War is the best movie.
Yep.
There is no argument. You're an idiot if you don't say Civil War is the best. I'm the best. I know what I'm talking about. I think Civil War is great because it has everything that you said that was good. It introduces Black Panther. It introduces Spider-Man.
Yep.
And at no point are you like, come on, like we're wasting time with this. Yep. It is all leading to the great stuff. And I think what I like about it more than Infinity War, because there's still the element of the bad guy won. It's more how he won.
Yes.
And that it was all, like, not all, because obviously a lot of luck has to play into what he does, but it's his plan. Like, he didn't just bulldoze through it like Thanos.
Yeah.
There was there was like a tact to what he did, and I thought that was smarter and better. And it seems like that effect was more I mean, obviously we don't know. We haven't seen past. Well, I mean, it's more Endgame that has the lasting effect than Infinity War,
Yes, it
because
does.
Infinity War gets reversed basically.
Yep.
Whereas even to this day, like even in Endgame, the effects of Civil War are still in place.
Yep.
So to me, it feels like it seems like a more meaningful victory for Zemo than what Thanos had, because I guess he's dead, so it doesn't matter. But like, it's not like, oh, you know, Iron Man forgave Bucky or whatever. Like, Bucky had to go hide in Wakanda basically, and they never had to like reconcile with that again. So yeah, I do like that what it started and what it kept going from that movie, I think, is better. And in general, the team ups are way more interesting to me in that one. Like I like Ant-Man's first reaction to being like meeting Captain America. Obviously, we're paying that off a bunch of times in the other movies. Well, not Infinity War because he's not in that, but in Endgame. But like that, just like just his initial fanboy with Captain America is great. And again, my favorite Hawkeye movie is Civil War. I think he's great in it. He's in it just long enough, and he's like, "Oh, you should take up golf." He's like, "I did. I played 18 holes. I got it 18 strokes. It got kind of boring." I'm like, "Yeah, this is amazing. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's competent, and he fits in exactly where he needs to fit in for it." I do like the what happens to War Machine in it, and that. Again, that still has effects on him even in Endgame. It's not like they just fixed it and it was fine. So yeah, I think for what MCU wants to do, I thought that was a better example of the team up stuff, and with the same ending that you like of the bad guy winning without it. Like, I mean, yes, the Thanos winning is a very obvious one. It ends on his face and he's smiling and he's excited. But the idea that you think like, oh, good, they made it through, and it's like, well, no, like just because Zemo's in jail doesn't mean that like he didn't accomplish what he wanted to accomplish.
No, he accomplished 100% of what he accomplished, and that was all he wanted.
And so for me, that felt like more of a punch to the gut because of what I said about Infinity War, where it's inviting you to be like, well, you know, we'll be back next year, and you'll see how they reverse this. Yeah. Whereas Civil War was like, can they? Are you like what's going to happen now? Yeah.
Even in Infinity War, it's just like a year afterwards. Like, we're not on speaking terms right now, and everything like that. It's great storytelling devices that they have there. All right, thank you so much for listening. Again, you can.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten if you want to listen to any of the movies that, well, not any of them, but a lot of the movies that we talked about today were covered, starting from Age of Ultron on. Yes. We have covered every Marvel movie from Age of Ultron on. So if you want to hear our opinions on those, please go there. If you want to listen to other amazing podcasts, such as Bad Gay Movies, Black Hole Films, No Budget Nightmare, what a great theme song, and Highly Logical. Please go to thatshelf.com because we are part of that network. We love being there, and we love all the other podcasts, and you will too.
Yeah, fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
And as always, like, comment, share.
Thank you. Yes.
Talk about us on your blogs, on your podcast, or whatever. Yeah. We love the social media engagement that we've been getting. Very, very humbled about that. So thank you so much to all our fans. Yeah. And sorry, I cut you off before.
No, that's what I was going to say. Cool. Just, go actually, and please rate us. I feel like...
Yeah, that helps us out a lot.
Yeah, if you could just rate us, that would be great. So, on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, Radio Public, any of those options, and probably more. Just please.
And all we're saying is rate us the way you see fit.
With a 5.
We're not asking for...
With a 5.
We think it's a 5-star performance. But, of course, you do what you do you.
With a 5.
Thank you so much. We'll see you very, very soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.